Welcome to Momtroversial, the podcast that dives headfirst into the beautiful chaos on motherhood and dishes on the stuff we wish we would have known and nobody tells you. I'm Leah, a scrunchy nurse writing the Hot Mess Express, and I'm your girl's girl here to remind you that it's fine, we're fine, everything's fine.
I'm Alyssa, crunchy mom who's all about organic living. I'm organized, opinionated, and your designated wingwoman in any parenting bar fight.
And this week, Tori, our ride or die mom of three, is unable to be with us. So Alyssa and I are going to jump into one of our favorite, most controversial, because we like to do things controversial around here, sections in the Bible that we want to talk about when it comes to marriage, husbands, and wives, especially in this season of parenting, because the season of parenting and is just hard in general, regardless of your background, let alone being military spouses for us because of some of the different struggles that we will walk through. And this section of verses is just so good for helping create a framework, just not only for you, but for your spouse. But there's a lot of controversy around it. So let's dive into it on our thoughts and how we use this framework when it comes to our marriage today. The section we're going to go into is Ephesians 5:22 through 33. So Alyssa, do you have it pulled up on your end?
I do. I can read it if you'd like.
Okay, yeah. Will you read it?
Sure. Okay, so this is Paul talking to the Ephesians. And in this section, he says, "Wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord." We know that that's a terrible word. We will get into it. It's not that terrible. "For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, his body, and is himself its Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to everything in their husbands. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of the water with the word, so that he might present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that she might be holy and without blemish. In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes it and cherishes it, just as Christ does the church, because we are members of his body. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This mystery is profound, and I am saying that it refers to Christ and the church. However, let each one of you love his wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband." So this is controversial in that everyone hates, especially women, hate the word submission. Okay? I am type A. I hate the word submission. But I think how we need to go into looking at this is we are looking at the ideal relationship that Paul is describing when husband and wife are both pursuing Christ separately and together. This is the goal. Okay? We are not saying, disclaimer, you have an abusive husband, an abusive wife, you still need to submit, you still need to love. If you are in danger, you are in danger. But if you are struggling with maybe just the relational aspect of relationship, or you just got married, or you've been married for forever and it's just and you feel like there's something missing, this could be it. So I think there's a course, book, whatever you want to call it, called Love and Respect, that I will tell everyone and their mother saved my marriage before it started. And it's actually based on these verses. And the concept of the course is that women in general, not as a 100% rule, but in general, women need love and men need respect. Now, men want love and women want respect, but men need respect and women need love. And so if you look at it that way, providing to your spouse what they need I think it really just it opens it up a little more from this, misogynistic Bible verse to,
Mhm.
wow, we could be a team and we could legitimately actually be best friends pursuing Jesus together. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I think that the word submit and just the act of submission, right? Because, like, in Hebrew, the concept of submitting is humble obedience, and I don't, or us putting ourselves under the authority of someone else. And I think culturally, the word submission is something that a lot of women, and I myself at first, we just have this instinct of wanting to buck against it because people in situations where it has been made to seem like it is an act where it doesn't matter, what your husband is doing. A woman doesn't have her own voice or her own autonomy or anything like that.
Mhm,
She's just to do whatever her husband says, right? Culturally, that's what comes to my brain when I hear that word. And I know that I'm not the only woman who does that. But when you go all the way back to the core, right? So even before these verses, something that I want to read for people that I heard this in a podcast and it was phenomenal is what the marriage relationship actually is. It changes the way you view the word submit or that action. And in Genesis 2:18, when we read a helper suitable or corresponding to him based off of what your version of the Bible is, the Hebrew phrase of that is called ezer kenegdo, which the word ezer means strength, rescue, saving, warrior, which is often used to describe God. Two times it's used to describe women in the Old Testament, and the other 16 times you see it in the Old Testament, it's describing our relationship with God. God being our Ezra, God being our strength, God being the one who's coming in to save us. And then the second word there is connecto, which means corresponding or opposite or counterpart. Someone who is an equal match and a counterpart who can challenge and hold someone accountable. So when you put those two words together, for the way God designed women for men, all the way back to Adam and Eve, he didn't design Eve to just do everything Adam says and to just Adam to be able to, put off all of his work on Eve. He
mhm,
designed Eve to be somebody who is able to help rescue her husband, who is a completely equal but opposite match or counterpart,
mhm,
which is why we have different roles, right? And because of the fall, like there were also different punishments because we are counter to men. And you mentioned this when we were talking back in the postpartum episode of just how feminism has really broken
mm,
what it means to be a woman because of us not embracing womanhood and wanting to be entirely the same as men. But that's not the way God designed Eve. God designed her to be an equal opposite match or an equal counterpart. Our roles are different, yet they are still just as valuable and just as important. And when you look at the marriage relationship, and that is who I am to my husband, as I'm reading these verses, I am someone who is of equal stature to him and
mm,
capability. And part of my job is to truly rescue or save or come in and really pick him up when he needs it
mhm,
in all areas of life. It makes the word submitting not feel the heaviness or the burdensome that it comes when you think about it in our culture. Do you know what I'm
mhm.
saying?
Yeah, and I wanna go back to what you were saying about Adam and Eve because I actually pulled up those verses in Genesis 3. So like you were saying, Eve was
Hmm.
created, um, to be Adam's perfect complement, and when the fall happened, Eve essentially did the very opposite of what she was created for. Instead of lifting Adam up,
Mhm.
she tore him down. And that is, that's just what
Mhm.
happened. And we can say, oh, well, I would never do that. But like the fact of the matter is you probably would have. And so part of Eve's curse, he says, I will surely multiply your pain in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be contrary to your husband, but he shall rule over you. In Genesis 3, at the beginning of the world, when the fall happened, God told us we would have this issue of not wanting to submit
Mhm.
and not wanting even when our husbands are on a godly path, we still have issue
Mhm.
with submitting, and
Mhm.
it is laid out for us. It's not a theory.
Mhm.
That is part
Mhm.
of our curse as women, just as it's part of the man's curse that he's going to have to work so much harder for things that in Eden he never would have had to work for. Um,
Mhm.
so I
Yeah,
thought that was
and
interesting.
I think I think that is such a good point, especially setting the framework for this conversation because of why. Why is this so hard for us? Why is there such a struggle? You know, you talk about the desire will be for your husband, but he will rule over you. And it's just something that has been since the fall. If we are not unique in it,
Mhm,
this is something that we have always dealt with. And part of the consequence for men too can be passivity. Because in that moment, Adam was passive when Eve ate the apple. He was
mhm.
there, he was present, but he didn't say anything. And so that's some of the problem that we still will encounter among men today. And it's just because of the fall.
And then
It's
he
just why
blamed her.
labor sucks.
He
Yeah.
took it.
Yeah.
He accepted it, and then
Hmm.
he blamed her. Was it her fault? Did she offer it to him? Yes. But he was just the epitome
Hmm.
of not a godly man in that whole stretch of,
Hmm.
I don't know, happening.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And one more thing I want to say on it before we talk about like submitting and how we do this
Mhm,
in our marriages is again, when you see this phrase in the Old Testament, never in the Old Testament, there's 2 times it's referred to women. When you see this phrase, 3 times it's referred to when Israel is calling for help when they're being sieged. And then the other 16 times, it's referring to God as our helper who comes alongside us in our helplessness. And never, like, God is not subordinate to us. Never do you see it in reference in the Bible being used as somebody who is subordinate to another
mhm,
person. You see it being used as the woman is able to help and strengthen the man who can't do it on his own. And it's not doing it for him, it's serving with him because man is only half of the story.
mhm,
Man can only do half of the job. And I think a huge breakdown in marriage is when we're trying to do it all ourselves.
mhm,
When you are trying to do everything and be everything on your own, that isn't necessarily your role, and or bucking against your role at the same time. So, what does when you hear the verses and it's wives submit to your husband as as Christ is the head of the church and himself is Savior and the church submits to Christ?
mhm.
Um, how does that look in your marriage? How does that look with you and Ryan?
So a lot of it looks like discussions that sometimes could borderline on arguments,
Hmm.
honestly. Um, because
Hmm.
I have no doubt that Ryan considers me his equal. Um, but we both
Hmm.
are still not perfect people, and so I will question him and he will question me.
Hmm.
I tend to have great ideas that I haven't thought out, and he'll be like, "Okay, but what about this, this,
Yeah.
and this?" And he's a little more reactionary to where, like, something will happen, he'll be like, you know, kind of get heated, and I'm like, whoa, I was literally just like
Mhm.
thinking things out. Okay. And
Yeah.
so I can give an example of Korea. Ryan really wanted to go to Korea out of Triple C about 3 years ago. And I really did not want to go to Korea. I wanted to go to Fort Bragg because I wanted to be close to family, but not too close.
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
and so I submitted to Ryan. We went to Korea. But what people didn't see was he made Korea his number 2. He put Fort Bragg as his number 1 for me because while I
Mhm.
submitted to him, his goal that Christ laid down his life for the church. Ryan daily lays down his life
Mhm.
for me. And it does make it
Mhm.
sometimes easier to submit to him. And sometimes I'm just simple and I still don't want to submit to him. Um, but
Mhm.
he
Yeah.
put Fort Bragg as number 1, and he went after Fort Bragg. He interviewed for it. But they're kind of a cult, and all the captains that came from Fort Bragg went back to Fort Bragg. So all those were filled. And of course, everyone in Korea needs people. So we got Korea, and I submitted to Ryan and I went to Korea.
Mhm.
And I will fully maintain that although we did not enjoy Korea, and what came out of that was Ryan saying, "You just tell me where you want to go and I'll just go wherever you want to go." But again, laying
Mhm.
down his life for me. Um, I still maintain that God blessed us in Korea in so many ways.
Mhm.
um, in the birth of Kennedy that didn't go exactly the way I wanted it, but with the only doctor that I would ever trust to deliver me in a hospital again, with
Mhm.
the people that we've met. I mean, this podcast, uh, with the
Mhm.
opportunities that we had with modeling and traveling. There were so many things about Korea that I can see how God blessed us there, even though
Mhm.
overall we would never go back. Um, and I do believe that
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
because I submitted to Ryan.
Yeah.
And even though it, like, you could argue, well, you shouldn't have. You should have argued harder. You should have just said no to Korea because you had a feeling about the air quality. It seemed really bad, and then it was really bad. Okay, yeah, I could have, but I don't think that you can submit to your husband assuming intentions are honorable. I don't think that you can n submit to your husband and not be blessed for it.
Mm.
So, that's my kinda thought process on that.
I have something I wanna read. I'm pulling it up right now. So we did this Bible study, um, called Counterculture by David Platt,
Oh, cool.
and we did it over the summer. And there's a day in it when it talks about marriage, and it goes over these verses. And then he phrased submission, or he phrased it as respect instead of necessarily the word submitting. It was respecting, was the word
Mhm,
that he used for your husband. Just like you talked about, where a lot of times it looks like a conversation, but at the end of the day, if he feels strongly on this, or this is something that he really wants, instead of trying to have it my way,
mhm,
I just respect him
mhm,
and say, okay, I'll let you take the responsibility and I will say, let you lead. Right. And in this section, I'm going to read it to you exactly what he says. He says,
mhm,
a wife may think my husband doesn't work hard enough or do enough to earn my respect. And we're using the word respect here in place of submitting. But even then, might such a wife be buying into the unbiblical lie that respect is purely based on performance? In the same way, a selfless love for his wife is based on God's charge to him, isn't a wife's selfless respect for her husband based on God's charge to her? So, wives, you're in a complementary, not competitive relationship with your husband. Yield to leadership and love. knowing you're representing the church's relationship with Christ. Because our husbands, and we'll get to this in the next section, but he's called to lead us regardless of if we deserve it, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
called to lay down his body and his life for us, no matter what, just like Christ did for the church. Okay, well, let's think about how Christ laid down his life for the church when they were jeering him,
Mm-hmm.
when it was the Pharisees who had orchestrated his death on the cross. And some would even say that we didn't deserve it, which we didn't.
Everyone should
That's
say
what
that.
the grace,
Yeah.
that's the grace and the mercy, no matter how obedient you were. And our husbands are called to love us just like that,
Yeah.
regardless of if we deserve it or not.
There is no
And
caveat
we
in
are
these
called to
verses.
correct.
Yeah.
And we are called to respect them whether we think that they deserve it, or we are called to honor them whether we think they deserve it or not. And this is something that I have really grown in over this last year. I read this book. I'm not done with it. Okay, so I started this book, and it's called How to Speak Life into Your Husband When All You Want to Do Is Yell at Him.
Oh, amen.
Because yeah, it's so good. It's so good. And it's where I heard the word esokenegdo for the first time. And when I was reading this book, it was talking about how instinctively, as a woman, and this is something I've struggled with, when Travis isn't living up to my expectations,
Mm-hmm.
well, I'm just going to help you be better and tell you what you need to do better. And you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. And it becomes this frustrating cycle because 9 times out of 10, he doesn't do what I'm telling him to do, even though he isn't doing exactly what you want him to do right away. Instead of approaching it of you need to do this better, you need to do that better, you need to do this better, we should respect him. So fix your eyes on the things that he is doing well. Fix your eyes on the gratitudes you can have, even if you're at a point in your marriage where it's starting off and it's really hard for you to find something, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Um, but fix your eyes on those little things. And then when you focus on that, you're rewiring your brain. Instead of seeing things to fix in your husband, instead of seeing areas where he's not good enough, you're seeing the areas where he is showing up.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you call out those things and the things he's doing well as a man, ego is a thing, pride is a thing for them. We all struggle with it, but particularly in men.
Mm-hmm.
And when you just point out the things he's doing well, babe, I know you had a really long day at work today. You didn't go home till late, but you came home and you clocked in with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
I was struggling, the kids were crying, and you just came in and you picked them up and you played with them and you were so present and you helped me get them down. And thank you for that. Thank you for hanging up your uniform and not leaving on the floor. Thank you for the way that you did those things, whatever it is. And when you start calling out those things, this book talks about to the man and its ego, without you having to tell them what they need to do better about, they'll start doing better.
Mm-hmm.
Because why would you want to do better for somebody who is never uplifting you,
Mm-hmm.
who is never being like your support or your equal, your counterpart, who is only ever
Yeah.
telling you the things you're doing wrong?
If it's never good enough, what's the point in
I
even
don't want to
trying?
correct
Yeah.
versus when you think about how you feel, whether you're a working mom or you're going back to when you were a kid, or even for you as a wife, when I'm told that I'm a rock star and I keep the house together and I'm doing a great job with the kids and that I'm being seen in what I'm doing, it makes me want to do more. It
I'm
makes
like,
me
let me
want to
go
do better.
organize something.
And
Yay me.
right, like, oh my gosh, what else can I do?
Yeah.
And that's how she talks about a good starting place when it comes to your spouse
Mm-hmm.
and just respecting them and rewiring your brain, because that's a big part of this marriage conversation that needs to be done because of the way society has twisted it.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
I literally love everything you just said. I think I was gonna say, like, respectfully, husbands are a little bit like dogs in that like, the
Oh my
praise is
gosh, yes.
so meaningful. But then I was
Mhm,
thinking about what you were saying about us too, and I was like, humans are like that. Like, the praise is so
mhm,
meaningful, and maybe it's more meaningful if you're a words of
mhm,
affirmation person than if you're not. I'm a quality time
mhm.
or not I used to be quality time. Now I'm an active service girl. So, Ryan's like, "Hey, I really appreciate dinner." I'm like, "That's great. Do you want to put the kids to bed?" Like,
Yeah.
thanks, but okay, okay. But at the same time, when he says this was a really good dinner, I'm like, okay, I want to make this again for you. Like, great, awesome.
Mhm.
In my little mental bank.
Yeah.
So I just words do matter, and I am a terrible words of affirmation person because I don't care that much. But Ryan is a words of affirmation guy,
Mhm,
so that's something I constantly have to think about. Um,
mhm,
Ryan is going through a um, vaccine exemption right now, a total vaccine exemption in the
mm.
Army, which is unheard of. It's been going on for longer than Kennedy has been alive, or maybe just as long as Kennedy's been alive, because they
Oh,
don't know what to
wow.
do with it. They have no idea. And every
Mhm,
time he like switches jobs or PCSs, it just starts over. Essentially, he has to resubmit it. Um,
mhm,
but we're apparently the system's been updated a little bit and he's resubmitting again. And part of, we believe that the vaccines will severely impact his health. And that's why we feel so strongly about him not receiving them, especially when he's in a job
mhm,
where he's working alongside civilians every day that do not have these requirements and everything is fine with them.
mhm,
He's not
mhm,
likely to, deploy to Africa where he might need a specific
mhm,
vaccine. And, in our exemption request, I think he mentioned that, like, should something like that happen, that would be a different, maybe the yellow fever vaccine going to Africa would be um,
mhm,
the risks outweigh the benefit or the benefits outweigh the risk type thing.
mhm,
Um, but part of that is him, um, saying that he would get out of the Army if they denied his
mhm,
request. Because really, I mean, is he serious about it or not? Like, you know, is he
mhm,
just looking for an exemption?
mhm,
And, if he doesn't get it, whatever, he'll get the vaccines. That's not a belief. That's not a true,
mhm,
um, reason to do it. And so, uh,
mhm,
he's been thinking about, "Okay, if I have to get out, it will happen quickly because, when the Army kicks you out, it happens quickly. When you wanna get out, it takes a bajillion years," you know?
mhm,
Um,
mhm. Yeah.
and so he's been thinking about all of these things that, like, honestly terrify me. Like, somehow the Army has become my comfort zone. I don't know how it happened. But I did text him the other day and I was like, "You're thinking about a lot of scary things, and because of that, like, I don't have to think about a lot of scary things, and I really appreciate it." Like, he
Mm,
is leading our family
mhm,
so well in that way right now. And,
mhm,
I just got the "Thanks, babe" back. But, like, those are the kinds of things that I have to, like, I thought about that, and instead of just thinking about it and moving on, I thought
mhm,
about it and texted him because I knew that he's a words of
mhm,
affirmation guy. But, like, it's so hard for me to actually, like, follow through on that because I'm just like, "Whatever. Okay, moving on. I'll go make him dinner."
mhm. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, and I think that's good too. Like, I think whether your words of affirmation or not, you
Mhm,
like being told you're doing good things. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? And the one area where you can submit to your husband and you can respect your husband is also by knowing their love language, learning each other's
mhm,
love language and loving them in the way that they want to be loved, not the way that you want to love,
mhm.
right? And so this is very counterintuitive to our nature because a lot of this stuff requires selflessness
And we
and
are
it's not about
selfish.
you.
Like, we are. And if
Right.
you don't think you're selfish,
Right.
you're wrong, respectfully.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're just
And
wrong.
even things like an example that I was thinking of is and I think this has been in general personally and Travis always tells me he's like I will do whatever you want me to do. Anything you
Mhm.
want me to do around the house, anything you want me to get done, I will do it. But I need you to tell me what you want me to do. Or I need you to tell me what to do. His brain does not work in the way mine does with like, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to make a grocery list that I make sure the kids have that. I need to like start prepping this stuff before bed, this, that, and the other. His brain does
Mhm.
not think about those things in the same way that mine does. And this is part of me being his counterpart. And it took me a really long time to accept it and respect it because I was like, I'm not your mother. I shouldn't have to
Yeah.
tell you what to do
Yes.
around our house. I would get so heated. This was something I felt so strongly about.
Mhm.
But then when I was thinking about that and thinking, me trying to grow in my respect for my husband, that's one thing that I learned was, well, I need to respect the way that he needs me to communicate,
Mhm.
because it's not that he won't do anything. It's he just needs me to communicate that. So instead of trying to force him to be and handle it how I want him to, meet him where he's at and help support him with that way. And
Mhm.
so now I've been better about, you know, hey, will you feed the dogs while I'm
Mhm.
putting away the dishes? Or hey, I'm gonna set a 10-minute timer. Can we do a tidy? The kids just went down, do our 10-minute tidy. Then you can go do whatever you want, have your leisure, whatever, but we can both sit at the same time.
Mhm.
you know, or do you mind going upstairs and grabbing the kids' clothes for me while I'm changing Ella, whatever. So I've just
Mhm.
been more vocal about it and I've rewired the way I'm thinking about it because no, I'm not being his mom, but this is the way his brain works. And with the workload he's under right now, he doesn't have the mental capacity to think about home things like I do. So he'll do it, but he just needs me to be his helper and to support him and help him in that.
Mhm.
And so I don't know how many other women feel that way, but that was one thing I wanted to share. But that goes into a little bit of like the teamwork side of
Yeah.
marriage and how you are a team with each other and you need to learn how your team functions the best.
Yeah. I don't know if you have seen this reel going around, but I really like it. It's in relation to Christmas, it was my husband has no idea what the kids are getting for Christmas, but my card did not decline once. And it's like same team, different jobs. And I think that
Hmm.
that is a great intro to teamwork. Um,
Hmm.
but I also feel really strongly um, that I used to tell Ryan, especially when Reagan was first born and we were kind of trying to figure out what that looked like. And then, we had the conversation again when Kennedy was born, and Ryan said, I feel like I'm doing double the work I used to. And I said, yeah, we have double the kids now. So, um, but basically, I told him, we both have two jobs. You have your
Hmm.
job at the Army. You're, for lack of a better word, it's never a 9 to 5, but you're 9 to 5.
Hmm.
I have my job as the nanny, we'll say. That's my 9 to 5.
Hmm.
Then
Hmm.
at 5 o'clock, 5:01, we both clock into our second jobs.
Hmm.
It's not, oh, I go to work, I make the money, you handle the rest. That is not teamwork. That is not biblical. And quite frankly, that is
Hmm.
a man who never grew up to be a man and is still a boy. Whether they didn't have the
Hmm.
example or it's selfishness, whatever it is, it's not okay. You're not in charge of your family. You're not running the household by doing that. You're
Hmm.
not demanding respect. You're actually losing the respect of anyone who knows that that's how you operate. Um,
Hmm.
but uh, and so that is how we operate. Um, Ryan
Hmm.
comes home from work. He gets into regular clothes and he plays with the kids, or he goes.
Hmm.
Lately moving in and stuff. He's been organizing the garage while he watches the girls play out in the front. You know,
Hmm.
and I make dinner, and then after dinner, I clean the kitchen because he hates the dishes. I don't mind the dishes, and I've been with the kids all day long, so I kind of need like a mental
Mhm.
break. And he puts the girls to bed. He bathes them, he gets them down, he takes care of that. And then around 7:30, 8 o'clock, we come back and we get to relax. And we both get to relax because we are
Mhm.
working as a team. He is not
Mhm.
he's not exempt from household duties, like you were saying with Travis, just because he goes to work.
Mhm.
It's not being
Mhm.
grateful for his contribution to financially to ask him to help
Mhm.
you at home. But
Mhm.
I do love what you were saying about not wanting to be his mom and telling him what you need, because that's something that
Mhm.
I've struggled with too. And Ryan, he
Mhm.
told me once, he was like, "You're the subject matter expert of our house. If you need something done, you know what you need done. Tell me." And I think like
Mhm.
you see a lot of like, again, like reels and memes and stuff of like, we're having 30 people over to our house for Thanksgiving. So naturally my husband's picking up sticks in the backyard. Like, okay, yeah, that's so unhelpful. But did you tell him what you needed? Did you tell him?
Mhm.
And again, I know this probably sounds to someone, especially if you're skeptical, like this is all on us to take care of. But what you're not seeing that we see in our husbands is the willing teammate and the willing participant. They
Mhm.
will do whatever we ask of them. Ryan, kind of similarly, has told me, he said, when we got married, he was like, I will do whatever it takes to make you happy. And he does.
Mhm.
And, I like to say
Mhm.
that my biggest complaint with him is honestly sometimes he does what I ask him to do and he's not happy about it. Like, that is honestly one of probably my biggest complaint. And I know
Mhm.
how incredibly lucky I am to have that as my biggest complaint. He'll
Mhm.
clean the bathrooms, but
Yeah.
he's not going to be pleased
Mhm.
about it.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think that kind
Yeah.
of segues us into the next set of verses because we just focused a lot on like what the wives' job was. And I want to also
Mhm.
focus on so the wives, Paul dedicates 3 verses to the wives, and then he dedicates 5 to the husbands. Arguably, he
Mhm.
dedicates the rest of the passage to the husbands of 8 verses.
Mhm.
And he says, Love your
Mhm.
wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. That is such a high calling. And I
Mm.
don't say that to say that, well, it's hard and cut them some slack, but we have such a mental load of like the house and the kids and I need this before this and that before that and this by Sunday and all of these things. But he has the mental load of being physically and spiritually responsible for everything, literally everything. When we get to
Mhm.
heaven, God isn't asking me why we made this decision in our marriage. He's asking
Mhm.
Ryan why we made this decision in our marriage, why he made this decision in our marriage. And
Mhm.
and Paul is literally telling them, love your wife as Christ did, and Christ died a really awful, terrible death. Like that
Mhm.
is what men are called to for their wives, and that is the goal that they should be reaching for. And that, I believe, having godly husbands is why we have husbands that are our teammates, because they understand that
Mhm.
calling and they understand exactly they are what is required of them by God. I mean, it says, so that he
Mhm.
might present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that she might be holy and without blemish. In the same way, husbands should
Mhm.
love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes it and cherishes it. They are to nourish us and cherish us, just as Christ does the church, because we are members of his body. Again, back to
Mhm.
Genesis. Woman literally came out of man. He is called to take care of us as well as, if not better than he takes care of himself, which automatically
Mhm.
puts us before him. in
Mhm.
that hierarchy isn't really the right word, but like the level of attention that he gives to himself
Yeah.
first must be
Mhm.
given to us
Mhm.
as
Mhm.
their wives. And that is a huge
Mhm.
calling. And that I think that's I don't know, the teammate comes in like it's a lot. And that is why God gave us to our husbands to be their helpers, to be their encouragers, um,
Mhm.
to be their teammates. Like it really just all comes back to teammates. And I feel like we both cannot overstate that enough because I think that's what's
Mhm.
really lost in
Mhm.
society these days. I think that women are naturally helpers. Um and men are men like defined roles. And I think that
Mhm.
um you know, I always wanna help Ryan. Sometimes
Mhm.
sometimes to our detriment. He's like, "Can you just let me do what I'm
Mhm.
doing?" Um,
Yeah.
but then I see a lot of times where, at least in a lot of relationships that I'm privy to, um, where the man just truly does not feel like he needs to do anything beyond work. Um,
Mhm.
and that's just I just cannot tell you how wrong that is, and I cannot tell you how, okay, well, some woman says it's wrong and that I need to help my wife. Okay, go find an actual godly man. Go find someone in a really, truly happy marriage, and they're going to tell you the same thing. That man will. Okay,
Mhm.
so test me. I dare you. Test me. You
Mhm.
know, send us a message. I'll give you Ryan's
Mhm.
phone number. He'll tell you what's for. He'd probably kill me if I gave
Mhm.
out his phone number. But if you send us some questions, we'll get Ryan and Travis on here. Like, they'll tell you, they'll answer them
Mhm.
because not only
Mhm.
do they back up, do they do act as God has called them to, um, but they're not afraid to say that they do that either, because that is actual true manliness. That is being an actual true man
Mhm.
of God, not putting on a show,
Mhm.
not putting on an act for one set of people so that they think that you're doing all of the things, and then for another set of people you're catering to what they think a man should be. No, there's only one definition of
Mhm.
what a man should be, and it's in Ephesians. Well, we could say it's in the Bible,
Mhm.
but it's really
Yeah.
actively there in Ephesians.
And I have 2 thoughts on that because, like, the first thought is this is a response or rebuttal to
Mhm,
people who, buck against the idea of respecting or submitting your husband. Like, if he's loving you like Christ, it's not hard.
mhm,
But also, if he's not, let's say he's not putting you first, he's not loving you as well as he loves himself, then how do you handle that? Right. And
mhm,
I don't think, and this is just for general marriages, I'm going to say, not marriages where there's any type of emotional, physical abuse or anything like that
mhm.
going on, but just in general, right? If there's just this general breakdown, I don't think the appropriate response is because he's not loving me like Christ, then I don't have to respect him.
Yeah.
I think that there are things that we can do to influence our mindset and our thinking and influence and change us first, right?
Mhm,
And then through prayer and petition, present your request to God. And his peace, that surpasses understanding will be given to you. So I think first, one thing that I wanted to mention is I was reading this book by Gary Chapman, and one of the things he was talking about was basic human needs.
mhm.
And I can't remember all of them, but one of them is the need for recreation. One of them is the need for free time to just mentally check out.
Mhm.
Now, for us in this season of little kids that still take naps, a lot of the times I get at least a little bit of recreation while the kids are napping
Yeah.
because I do a lot of house stuff while they're awake. Travis does not get that time during the day. His first moment of any type of recreation is usually after the kids go to sleep. And so I used to get really mad because sometimes he would just like, we put the kids down and his first thought would be to just sit on the couch. Not because he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't want to help me, because like I said, he's always told me he doesn't help me, but because he just needed a minute. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that this book was talking about by Gary Chapman was like when you look at the actions that your spouse is doing, being empathetic, trying to understand why they're doing it and help that to rewire the way that you view it and then know how to approach the situation differently. So then instead of me getting mad that Travis is,
Mm-hmm.
sitting on the couch thinking he doesn't want to help me, my mindset shifted to, well, you know what? Like he really hasn't had a single second to himself all day long. And my guy's an
Yeah.
introvert. So he doesn't get life out of talking to me. He gets life out of like reclusing into himself and
Isn't that so
resting.
hard?
And so when I viewed it, I know it's so hard for me because I am like, I
Me
get life
too.
out of talking to you. I've been around little humans all day. Like I want to have a
Yeah.
conversation with an adult,
Same.
you know. But when I started looking at it like that, for example, it was such a huge shift because then instead of assuming negative intent, I was assuming positive intent. And how can I serve him?
Mm-hmm.
How can I help him? How can I support him? And that wasn't his normal thing he did every single day. There would just be times, once or twice a week if he had had a
Yeah.
particularly hard day that was his go-to default. But you know what my human mind did? My human mind saw that and then turned it into a generalization to where the
Mm-hmm.
one or two times he was doing it a week, I was like, oh, he always blah, 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 blah. Versus now I'm like, when I see that that's his first response, I'm like, okay, he's clearly lacking in this need
Mm-hmm.
and he really needs a second. So I'm going to let him have his time, take a second, and I'm going to
Yeah.
support him by creating that space.
Yeah.
And
I
then
love
he
that.
promptly gets up and is like, how can I help you? How can I serve you? What can I do
Mm-hmm.
for you to sit down or whatever? And then when he does, I will tell him. But again, something I just want to say for people, and I would love for you to share your thoughts too, who don't feel like they're at that part in their marriage yet, or they struggle, they don't feel like their husband is deserving or they're struggling in their marriage. One thing I would really want to recommend is my question. This is what my Nana always used to ask me. Have you prayed for your husband? Have
Mm-hmm.
you prayed for your marriage? Have you been intentionally doing any fasting? Because a lot of the times in the Bible, we see that times of hardship and trouble are together dealt with by the followers of Christ through prayer and fasting.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to fast for 40 days, but one meal a day where you intentionally are foregoing it and you're being in the word and you're praying for your spouse and you're praying for yourself. And the reason why I share that is because we have a friend who's a chaplain, and that's the number one thing he recommends to couples who he's counseling is for 30 days, choose one meal a day, fast, pray for your spouse, pray for yourself, pray for your marriage. And he has said the amount of life change he has seen and transformation in the person who's fasting, the person who is being fasted for, has been just absolutely incredible. And so that would be my encouragement to you. If you don't feel like your spouse isn't at that point, what can you do for you to change your mindset and
Mm-hmm.
influence the way that your brain is viewing your spouse? And then also, are you intentionally taking it to the Lord consistently? Taking it to the Lord and submitting to Him in prayer and petition for Him to work on your marriage and change your spouse and change you. So what would your thoughts be? Do you have anything else you want to add to that for people who are not at that point with their marriage? And
Honestly, I love everything you're saying. I love that you caveat it with this is just like you're not in a dangerous situation, you're not in an abusive situation. You're just not
mm,
on the same page. Like work on yourself too. Just like
mm,
so many times if I'm irritated and I can just reframe my point of view and just
Mhm.
do what I know he needs from me, it follows a
Mhm.
lot of the time that it also turns his attitude
Mhm.
around. I think that also something that
Mhm.
I really try hard to do is, um and you can call me out on this if you know me and I don't do it, um, I try to talk to my kids about Ryan positively and not negatively,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
and I try and talk to my friends and anyone, just, like, whenever I'm talking about him, I try and have it be positive and not negative, and not in a way that I'm,
Mhm.
only showing the fun side of social media, like that kind of thing. I'm only showing the
Mhm.
good, but just, in that I have a few close friends that I will go to if I'm really having an issue, but I'm not
Mhm.
broadcasting what I'm irritated with him about. He's not doing this, he's not doing that,
Mhm.
whatever it is, and I think that's come up a couple times in our marriage, where for whatever reason I've told him, like, "No, I don't I really don't speak disparagingly about you." Um,
Mhm.
like, I really make an effort on that, and it surprised him because a lot of
Mhm.
people don't do that, you know, because it is so
Mhm.
easy to complain. Like, don't get me wrong,
Mhm.
I complain, but,
Mhm.
I do think it helps my mindset too. If I'm speaking well about
Mhm.
him, I'm thinking well about him. If I'm thinking well about him, I'm
Mhm.
gonna treat him well, and if I'm treating him well,
Mhm.
he generally it is even if he's, like, out of it or whatever, it's easier for him to turn around and treat me well, and he does the exact same thing to me. Let me tell you, I can probably count on one hand the amount of times I've apologized first in our marriage. Like, I'll admit it. Um
Okay, I apologize first a lot. So for those of you wives who feel like you do have to apologize first, again, you meet your husband where you're at.
I'm a brat. I'll say it. Oh, but, like
I know who's more humble of the two of you. I'm just kidding.
no, it's true. Um, but yeah, so I do think that that's really helpful. It's just like the chain chain reaction of events.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
that's good. I
yeah.
couldn't have said it better myself. So, if you
Shucks.
guys have any of these topics or things you want us to dive into deeper,
Mhm.
you can reach out to us on our Instagram at Momtroversial Podcast. We would be happy to dive deeper into any of these things just based off of our experience and what we've learned and grown with. And if you know us personally, feel free to reach out to us as well.
Mhm.
And we would love to just continue this conversation with you guys. That being said, we're going to go ahead and transition into our Momtroversial moment. Moments that make you laugh, the moments that make you cry, and the moments that are just like, yeah, that's being a mom. That's mom life. So Alyssa, what was your controversial moment from this week?
So, my controversial moment was we got the girls a trampoline for Christmas, and they were jumping on it, and, we had one in Virginia, but we sold it because we didn't wanna move it to Arizona, and, we practice accurate anatomical body terms here, and so I told KK, I said, "KK, do a butt jump, jump and land on your butt." She loves doing this. I said, "Do a butt jump," and she goes,
Mhm.
"Mommy, I do a vagina jump." And I was like, "Okay. Good luck."
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Which
Yeah,
I mean, I guess yeah, same area.
yeah. She's doing a vagina jump. Who needs a butt jump?
That is
Oh,
so funny.
she's hilarious.
Oh my gosh. I think I wish I remembered what the one I shared last week was, but the one that stands out to me the most is Travis was sick last weekend. And then homie got sick this weekend too. My poor
Yeah.
guy. This sick
Gosh.
season has been awful for us.
Mm.
And Travi, when he gets sick, Travi like gets really sick. He has like a fever of like 102
Oh,
when he
that's
gets
awful.
sick as a grown man. Yeah. And he's like dying. I feel so bad for him. But it was really cute because he was sick and I was taking his temperature. And then Declan took the thermometer and wanted to take daddy's temperature. And so I have a video of him when Travis is laying on the bed and Declan's like doing the forehead thermometer and like he's taking his temperature and he's like, yep, daddy, you got a fever. And then he goes and he knows where like our medicine cabinet is with all of our stuff. And so he goes, he said, I go get you medicine. I'll be right back. I go get you water, daddy. I'll be right back. And so I'd be like, do you want me to get it for you? And he's like, nope, I get it. I take it to daddy. And it was just so cute watching him mirror us
I
with
love
that
that.
he was just being like, I know. And that's just like one of the things when it comes to parenting. Like I'm a big advocate of be what you want to see in your kids,
I was just
right? If
gonna
you want your
say,
kids,
like, his
right.
future wife is
You
gonna
just be,
be so
mhm.
appreciative. Yeah.
Yeah. And let them, right? If they want
Yeah.
to copy you and do some of the things you do, slow down. You don't need to rush everywhere all the time and
Mhm.
let them copy you, let them have that moment. Um, it was really, really sweet. And it was really helpful to Trav because there was a point in our lives when Declan could care less about him and it was
Oh.
all mommy all the time. And how nice it is for him to be sick, even though it's annoying when he like just wants to sleep and the kids want him. And I do my
Yeah.
best to separate them. But like for them to just love him so well and love him so hard.
So
It was
cute.
just good. I just love my kids. They're great.
Freaking love
They're
him,
great.
man. Such a good time.
Freaking love our kids. They're the best.
Ah,
So, if you guys like listening to our podcast, you like the things we talk about, please take a second and at the bottom, I think is where it's at. Rate us 5 stars if you really love us. 4 if you think we're like cool, but you don't hang out with us every day. And leave a comment if you have time. For any podcast that you listen to, it's really good and it's really helpful for us when it comes to being able to get out and about to more people. And we also love feedback too. So if there's
mhm.
any things you want to hear or things you want to know more about, we would love for you guys to share in that comment section. Otherwise, until next time, keep it momtroversial.
Bye.
Bye.